Have you ever had this experience? You pick up your phone intending to check something simple, maybe the weather forecast or the time of your next appointment. 15 minutes later, you've replied to several group messages, watched a handful of short videos, doomscrolled through another global crisis, and skimmed a heated debate about the carnivore diet. Then you suddenly pause and ask yourself, wait, what was I trying to do again? Oh yeah, the weather. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. It happens to me, it happens to my friends, and it happens to millions of people around the world, probably multiple times a day. This isn't a mere coincidence. This is the new normal. Every screen, every app, every platform you interact with is screaming for your attention. Emails, pop-up ads, Slack pings, group chats, viral tweets, algorithmic videos, breaking news. Every time you check your phone or computer, something is waiting to pull you in. This isn't an accident, it's by design. What's more, this isn't some groundbreaking information. Most of us already know this. We understand that platforms are built to be addictive. And we know that our time online isn't always spent well. Yet for some reason, we still believe we're in control. We like to think of ourselves as rational, sophisticated, evolved minds. And in many ways we are. But the reality is more complicated. If you look under the hood, we're still running on ancient software that evolved in a world of scarcity. Back in prehistoric times, paying attention to every sound, movement, or shift in social dynamics was crucial. A rustle in the bushes might have meant danger or dinner. A glance from another member of the tribe could signal connection or conflict. That kind of vigilance served our ancestors well. But today, the world has flipped. The same information that used to be rare, we are now drowning in. And our brains haven't caught up. We're now more informed and overstimulated than ever. And it comes at a cost. Mental fatigue, inability to focus, shallow thinking, burnout, reduced motivation. Sound familiar? These aren't personality flaws, they're symptoms. We've trained ourselves to fill every quiet moment we have with noise. We scroll while we eat, reply to messages while we walk, and watch videos while brushing our teeth. And in doing so, we crowd out the mental space needed for reflection, integration, and deeper thought. There's no time to digest what we take in. It's all input with no room for output. Now, some might argue that this is simply a matter of poor personal discipline or bad habits. But it's more than that. Back in the 20th century, psychologist B.F. Skinner conducted unique experiments using animals to study behavior. He created what's now known as the Skinner box. Rats or pigeons were placed in it and trained to perform actions like pressing a lever to receive a reward, typically food. What he discovered was key. If a reward was given every time, the behavior quickly diminished and the rats became uninterested. But if the rewards were delivered unpredictably and randomly, the behavior became so addictive and compulsive that rats wouldn't stop pulling the lever. This is called intermittent reinforcement, and it's one of the most powerful drivers of habit formation. Now imagine that same dynamic, just instead of rats, it's us. This random reward system can be observed in casinos as it's used to keep the gamblers addicted. They could lose 2 times in a row, but the 3rd time they might win. It's that anticipation of the next reward that keeps them hooked. Now you might think that you're better than the gambling addicts. But not so fast. Nowadays, those same reward systems are implemented almost everywhere. However, instead of slot machines, you're up against likes, notifications, and endless scrolling. Every time you open Instagram, check your messages, or refresh your TikTok feed, you're like a rat pulling a lever. And just like the gamblers, you're chasing an unpredictable reward. Maybe it's a funny video, maybe it's a DM from someone you like, maybe it's a comment, a meme, a headline, a viral post. But often, well, you just get nothing. Still, just like the animals in Skinner's experiments, you return again and again, anticipating and hoping that the reward is just one more scroll away. Our digital lives have become a giant Skinner box. Except instead of food, we're chasing the next dopamine hit. And instead of scientists, it's corporations shaping our behavior, using psychology against us and profiting from it. No, you're not broken. You're actually caught in a loop of conditioned behavior, manipulated by a system that understands your brain better than you do. And you're just trying to function in an environment that was designed with profit in mind. Now you might be wondering, why is this even a problem? Isn't it just entertainment? To an extent, yes. However, the issue arises not from one moment of indulging, but from the cumulative effect of hundreds of small moments spread across each and every single day. Remember, we're still running on ancient software that isn't meant for this much stimulation. If we could efficiently process all this input we receive, it wouldn't be a problem. But we can't. Our brains can only process so much information every day. That's why you may feel exhausted by the end of the day, even if all you did was lay on the couch and watch TV. You ended up exhausting all your mental energy and your mind got fried from all the stimulation. The same happens when you indulge in other smaller interactions throughout the day, like checking a notification or briefly opening an app. You might think that it's totally passive and harmless, but it still draws on your mental energy and all those small interactions add up. Luckily, there's an antidote to all of this. Right now, many of us live on autopilot. We pull out our phones when we're bored, sad, uncomfortable, or alone for more than 5 seconds. And we're not even aware of it. We just do it out of habit. But the first step toward change is disruption of this automatic behavior. Even small shifts can help here, like leaving your phone in another room, or switching which pocket you normally keep it in. These subtle adjustments are often enough to interrupt the autopilot and give your mind a brief window in which you can ask yourself, is this really what I want to be doing right now? Or am I just doing it out of habit? You can apply the same disruption principle to your computers, to your web browsing, or to any kind of media you consume. But you also need to curate and adjust your digital environment. You can do that by first spending a day observing your own digital habits. What apps or sites do you return to over and over again, even though they leave you feeling drained or distracted? Which notifications actually deserve your attention and which ones simply hijack it? You'll notice that you visit a lot of websites automatically out of sheer habit, not out of real interest, and that you lose a lot of time and mental energy on things that don't matter. Once you've noticed the patterns, it's time to go on an information diet. Turn off unnecessary notifications, unsubscribe from content that no longer gives value to your life. The reality is that you don't need more input, you just need better input. So choose a handful of trustworthy, high-quality sources. Spend time thinking deeply about fewer things, and let yourself go deeper rather than wider. Your attention is too valuable to be spent on noise. And look, I'm not trying to trash everything related to technology here. Distraction in moderation is perfectly fine. Sometimes we do want to relax and unwind, that's natural. I'm not suggesting total abstinence here. Rather, intentional consumption. So, watch your favorite shows, browse your favorite memes, but do it with intention, not as a mindless reflex. Because when we consume passively and habitually, we don't even get the enjoyment or rest we think we get. Just like our muscles after a workout, our minds need time to recharge. But we often mistake passive content consumption as a good way to do so. However, that's just more stimulation for the brain, and the result is the opposite. We either end up more exhausted, or we just delay the time it would take us to properly recharge. Real rest doesn't come from more input, it comes from less input. That is why one of the most powerful things you can do nowadays is to let yourself be bored. We are terrified of boredom for some reason, but it's one of the best ways to recharge your mental energy. Also, our best ideas, our most creative insights, and our most meaningful reflections often come in moments of stillness, while walking, showering, or staring out a window. They don't come when we're doomscrolling, and that's not a coincidence. That happens because the mind finally has space to connect ideas and wander freely. If you want more creativity and clarity, those quote-unquote empty moments are where they begin. But they can't happen if you just keep consuming more. Because when you do that, you fill your mind with other noise. So you might want to stop treating boredom as something to be avoided. It is in many ways a gateway to deeper thinking. But if the second you have a quiet moment you reach for your phone for a new hit of stimulation, you won't ever notice just how beneficial it can be. In many ways, modern digital content is the mental equivalent of junk food. Just like our bodies evolved to crave sugar, fat, and salt, our minds evolved to crave stimulation because back then we barely had any. The problem is we now live in an environment where both are available in unlimited quantities, but neither leaves us feeling satisfied. Even if you feel bloated and mentally fried from it, you do it again tomorrow. But that's not a failure of willpower. That's a perfectly predictable response to an environment designed to keep you consuming. A design that manipulates the primal parts of your brain in order to profit from you. And this problem isn't going away. In fact, the feeds will get faster, the algorithms will get smarter. But if you're aware of it all, you can rise above it. And just like with junk food, the solution isn't total abstinence, it's intentionality. It's learning to pause, to create just a little distance between the urge and the action. It's asking yourself, is this really what I want right now? Or am I just avoiding an uncomfortable moment? You don't need to live a perfectly focused life. That's not realistic. But you can take steps to make sure your attention is something you give, not something that's constantly taken. And when you start doing that, when you reclaim even a small piece of your mental space, you begin to feel the difference. You think more clearly, you focus more easily, you feel more energized, your brain doesn't feel as fried. And in today's world, where most people have compromised attention spans, that alone can be a massive competitive edge. You just have to stop yourself from consuming more. I know that's not easy to do, but the rewards are definitely worth it. However, it's up to you if you want to reap them. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next one.